So when we look at this example, all the ones that we've done so far, we end up with a positive number on top, okay? Exponents or whatever. Here, if we end up with one on the bottom, then that's where it stays. Like I said before, if you're going to have fractions, leave them. Don't just magically change it because you don't like a fraction. When we cancel these out, we end up with 2 down here. What we want to look at here is that there's another way to write this. Our exponent rule in division said if you divide exponents with the same base, then we subtract the exponents. Well, here, 3 minus 5 gives us negative 2. Well, we got 1 over b to the second over there. Same thing. This is the same thing as if we write 1 over b squared. Make sure you're writing these notes. So this is the rule that we want to look at. If you have a negative reciprocal, a negative exponent, you can write it either way. They're called reciprocals of each other. What we want to be careful of is that you don't just start changing them all the time. Okay, we only change them if it has a negative exponent. If you're working a problem out, you end up with more of them in the denominator, leave them there. But if you have negatives in the numerator, you're going to a lot of times see problems that say to write using positive exponents. Okay? You're going to see this a lot of times. Write with only positive exponents. You might, when you get in Algebra 2 and Pre-Cal, it's possible that you're going to have negative exponents. Okay, so not all the time, but as a general rule, we don't use negative exponents. Okay, we want to rewrite it. So if I look at this, I have an m to the negative 3. This is what I want you to do. Look at your papers very carefully. First thing, put it over 1. If it's not a fraction, make it a fraction. Put it over 1. Draw a fraction line. And then you're going to answer yes or no. Is this a negative exponent? Move it. M to the third. 1. And 1 over m to the third. Why don't you be quiet? Because Dax, those people who are wanting to watch it are going to have a hard time if I have to keep stopping. If you're here, it's not applying to you. So if we do 4 to the negative 2, put it over 1, draw a fraction line. Does it have a negative exponent? Yes. Move it. This is going to end up being a yes or no. If it is a negative, move it. If it's not, leave it. And then we can simplify. 4 squared is 16. We want to write our answers with positive exponents if we can do that. Okay? That's what this says. They're reciprocals of each other. And it can be on bottom or top. It doesn't matter. But the same rule applies here. If we've got the negative 3, we're going to put it over 1. Get rid of that. Draw a fraction line. This is a negative exponent. It's got to move. But keep it in parentheses. What's negative 3 times negative 3? 9. Put it over 1. Draw your fraction line. This is where the yes or no becomes really important. What is the exponent on 1 right here? Or a? Yeah, I just told you. 1. Is that positive or negative? Positive. Leave it where it is. B to the negative 1. It's negative. Move it. So it's a yes or no. If it's positive, if it's yes, move it. If it's no, leave it. Okay? And we don't know what A and B are, so that's as far as you can go. Okay? And so if we look right here, a negative exponent does not mean the whole expression is negative. It simply means it's a convenient way to write it. And this tells us that, in general, we're not going to use negative exponents. That's what I just got through saying. Sometimes you will see it in a later class, but we probably won't in algebra or geometry. This one goes the other direction. But the same question applies. If this is negative, it's got to move. That's the same as x squared over 1. So where you said flip it, that's pretty much what we're doing. We're moving from top to bottom. If it's negative, move it whichever place it is. Okay? The term is written as a reciprocal. Okay, there's one other thing that we need to look at that we've actually already talked about. But I want to show you that we can combine rules. The basic rule said add exponents if you have the same base. 5 plus negative 5 is 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. You can put in your calculator 2 to the 0, 3 to whatever it is. It's going to be 1. Or we can use the rule that we just talked about. Here, it's positive, leave it on top. It's negative, move it to the bottom. It becomes positive. Be sure you change the sign when you move it, because if you don't, you've defeated the purpose. Well, the same thing divided by itself is still 1. So either one of those are going to give us our answer, and you're going to find that on several exponent rules, that you can have one or the other. Just make sure it's one of those 5 basic rules. So anything to the 0 power is 1. So number 5 here, what is this one? 1948 to the 0 is? 1. Negative 9 to the 0 is? 1. Be careful. 3x to the 0 equals 3. Because this is 3 to the first, x to the 0. So we have 3, and then this one's 1. That's not the same thing as this. That would be 1. If it was in parentheses, it would be 1. If it's not, we have to consider each separate variable by itself. Okay? So be careful.